Hello, YouTube and fellow resellers. This is Kevin, the Stoic Reseller, back at you with a what sold in the last 24 hours. And let me tell you, it has been a little slow 24 hours. And I also skipped a day. Had family over for my son's birthday party. They came over again last night. Had a good time hanging out and just enjoying the time. So I did skip a video. Yesterday I only did like $202 in sales with it was 6 total sales, 5 packages because one was a multi-quantity, which is always nice to get. So been pretty slow, and I think I have an idea as to why. So let's get this started. First item here, I'm not going to use the AI tool because it's only 4 items. I have had $102 in sales, and so yeah, you do the math. It sold for $27 in a matter of a week. This is an RLX. This has the Ryder's Cup embroidery on it. This is really the only RLX polos I get anymore, is if they have like an embroidery of a really high-end brand, like golfing course, or if it's got this Ryder's Cup. I've noticed the Ryder's Cups do really well. The next item is a really awesome brand. This brand is 32 Bar Blues. This is just like a flannel button-up. They do really well. It's a brand, it's very similar, I would say, like into how resale-wise, into Carbon to Cobalt. Still has slightly higher resale value because it's less saturated, I guess is the best way to say that. But it's kind of like that kind of grungy, like 70s, 80s style men's wear. I don't know, I actually kind of like some of their pieces. Some of their pieces are really strange, but anyways, if you see that, pick it up. So let's talk about why I think my sales are slow. And really, I'm breaking this down into three main categories. Category 1 is every 3 weeks, towards the tail end of the week that I'm going to go up north and go sourcing, I always am listing kind of the more professional wear, long sleeves, like a bunch of Untuckit, a bunch of Carbon to Cobalt, just kind of odds and ends stuff. And then like towards the end of the week, I list jackets. And specifically this week, I have some like stuff that I've been holding on for a long time, and I just want to get listed, get it, at least something. Hopefully it sells quickly. If it doesn't, then, not the biggest of deals. But I think that plays a factor in it. I think what you list on a daily basis or weekly basis or monthly basis plays a huge factor on what your sales will do throughout the week, month, day, things like that. And, it's been a consistent trend. I've been kind of mentally keeping track of that. I don't have any solid data like that I can physically prove to you. But if you've been doing this long enough, you for sure will notice, like if you're like a multi-week, like drawn out seller like I am, where I have to make a certain amount of inventory last a certain amount of time, I try to batch things together, and I try to bookend it with like the really expensive stuff. So that probably explains my ebbs and flow. Like I'll have really great couple weeks, and then 1 week is just down in the dumpster, and then I have great a couple weeks. That might have a play factor. You guys need to pay attention to that in your own business and how you do that. Maybe you'll be a little less susceptible to that if you're like an everything seller, but I think clothes, it's just part of the game. Personally, especially when you're a part-time, you're only listing 8 to 10 items, you're gonna notice these tendencies. The second reason I think my sales are slow is it's the beginning / end of the month time frame. I have always noticed, especially more recently, like I would say last 6 months, the last like week of the month and the first week of the month are always slow, dragged out sales that I'd be happy to get to $200, but it doesn't seem like I get that. Like I have multiple days like today where it's like $100 and I'm just like, oh my gosh. But I think that plays a factor. I think rent right now. I think people are stressed for money, and the end of the month is probably when I would say the majority of people's bills just come due, just out of nowhere. Hey, you got to pay your cell phone bill, got to get gas, got to pay the rent, got to pay your electric bill, got to pay the water bill, got to pay the gas bill. Whatever bill you got, you probably due sometime near the end of the month. So I believe that has something to do with it as well. And that leads into the last and probably the most responsible. I don't know. So, my closest friends will know that I am very into economics. I like to learn about how money flows, how it works, finance, things like that. And just as a guy, heads up, guys, I'm not an expert. I'm just some pleb on the internet doing research, trying to make my own assumptions and my own, assumptions, opinions, things like that. And so take my, I'll never give financial advice, and I'm not going to fearmonger you guys, but I've just noticed some tendencies, specifically in the markets, specifically locally, and specifically through eBay. So one of the tendencies, we'll start here, is, my wife and I are kind of in the market for a house. We're waiting for the Feds to drop the interest rates, which isn't going to happen at least in the next 6 months. The Feds actually anticipate another 0.75% increase in the minimum interest rate on the Fed index rate, which is not a good thing if you're looking to not a good thing if you're looking to finance a house. So we are just going to wait it out. I don't really feel like paying 7+% on a mortgage. That to me seems like one of the worst things to do. The counter argument to that is, well, buy now, wait it out, and when interest rates go low, refinance. That seems like a great idea. There's multiple factors as to why that may not be a good idea, such as you may not have a job. There'd be a reason the interest rates drop significantly, right? That would indicate a severe market downturn, or the Feds think that the inflation has come down to a certain level and they can ease up on the high interest rates. But also, I think the housing market still is in a bubble. I don't think you'd ever be wrong to buy a house. I just think it'd be mistiming right now. I think you'd be paying a little bit more than what you probably should. And I think Zillow, for instance, is an interesting indicator. So just the other day, I saw 2 foreclosures in my local area. The first time I'd seen that since moving up here 2 years ago, and 2.5 years now. So I think that's a strong indicator as to where the housing market is going to go. I think it's going to be a slow trickle. Just like do some research on dam breaks. It always starts with a slow trickle, and then eventually the dam breaks, guys. And I think right now the economy of the U.S. is very much in a depression. I don't believe what the Feds say, especially with this presidential administration. They like to stretch the truth, kind of half-baked facts, things like that, where they're maybe technically correct in a facet, but objectively wrong type deal. Not trying to be political, guys. I'm just trying to push out the nuanced information that people kind of glance over and maybe don't actually do research on. So there's that aspect. So we've talked about now in economics, we've talked about houses. Interest rates are going to potentially go up. Foreclosures are starting to trickle in. And the last, which is probably the most significant part of the economic portion of this, is the debt. I'm not talking about the nation's debt. I'm talking about individual debt. I've seen the reports a few months back now that the nation's car debt is now, we are more in debt than there is actual liquidity in the vehicle. And it's getting worse and worse month over month or year over year. And one of the stories they quoted in there was a family who wanted to buy a minivan. So they traded in their car, which had negative equity because they just had a baby. So they got a minivan. rolled over the $10,000 of negative equity into a minivan, which then immediately loses 30% as soon as you drive it off the lot. Or actually, it's kind of a lie, huh? As soon as you sign the dotted line and get the keys, it's 30% less than what you paid for. So now, say you paid $50,000 for this minivan, add in the $10,000, you are now essentially 40% negative on your liquidity of the van, and it's only it'll take forever. I mean, we're starting to see loans 7, 8, 9, 10 years into the future. So there's that. Credit card debt's at an all-time high. There's just so much going on, guys. Student loans are starting to come back, so you're gonna have a little less money there. I'll reserve my opinion on that. I mean, I have student loan debt. That's why I started the business initially. Yeah. Anyways, I don't have a valid opinion, I suppose, because either way I benefit, right? And so there's all sorts of factors, and we're just gonna leave it at that. The economy isn't what it is, and I don't believe all these other eBayers, all these other YouTubers who do eBay or Poshmark, Mercari, I don't think they have a fundamental understanding of what is actually happening. There's one YouTuber specifically who's very critical of eBay and the technical issues, and he believes that his sales are in the dumpster because of that. And I don't think he takes everything into the bigger picture. He'll be very critical of the people who question his mentality, but you know what? We'll leave it at that. And I want you guys to make sure that you look at every decision you make with a bigger picture. I don't want you guys to be irrational. I want you guys to take your time, look at everything from every angle, and make a decision. And that just isn't happening, guys. That's where we are now in this economy. But moving on, we got 2 more items. I only had 4 sales today. I didn't tuck it. I sell this stuff all the time between this dollar amount, $20 plus shipping, up to $25 plus shipping. I listed this today, and it sold today. And an item I've had forever. Guys, this is Athleta. It's some sort of tight. I don't know. The buyer paid $8.99, I believe, plus shipping. This was an item I listed and delisted, and still took forever to sell. Happy to see it go. Moving on from that. So yeah, guys, slow sales, not much to go over, but please, if you guys like what you hear, you like what you see, you like what I teach, maybe you like how I talk, maybe you don't like how I talk. Either way, share my videos. And until tomorrow, like, subscribe, and rule the day.